When two young twin girls and their dog found a bleeding officer in the forest, everyone expected panic. But what they did in the next 10 minutes stunned the entire police force and turned them into unexpected heroes no one saw coming. The forest just beyond Mill Creek was a quiet place, the kind where bird song replaced traffic and the wind whispered through tall pine. It was a Saturday afternoon when 10-year-old twin sisters Lila and Sophie Harper set out on their usual hike with their golden retriever, Rusty. Their parents had let them roam the first part of the trail alone, a familiar route the girls had memorized since they were 6. What no one expected was that they'd come back with a story that would shake the entire town. The first strange thing they noticed was Rusty. Normally cheerful and sniffing every fern, today he stopped mid-path, ears stiff. Then he bolted left, off-trail, barking with a kind of desperation the girls had never heard before. "Rusty!" Sophie shouted, chasing after him, her twin only a step behind. They pushed through brambles and bushes, scratched but determined. And that's when they saw it. A man, barely conscious, lay face down in a patch of fallen leaves, his police badge glinting beside him. Blood soaked through his uniform shirt. A holster was empty, and his lips moved, but no sound came out. Sophie froze. Lila stepped forward, hand shaking as she touched his shoulder. "Sir?" she whispered. He blinked, eyes fluttering open. "Radio. Gone. Shot. Help." The girls looked around. No signal bars on their phones. They were too far out. The nearest ranger station was over a mile away, and the sun had already started to drop behind the trees. "We have to do something," Lila said. "No adults. We're just kids," Sophie replied, panicked. Lila knelt beside the officer. "We're not just anything." They had no idea who he was, why he was shot, or who did it. But they could tell one thing. He wouldn't survive if they didn't act fast. Rusty whimpered and began licking the officer's hand. That's when Lila remembered something from a first aid video their mom made them watch during the summer. She tugged off her sweatshirt and pressed it against the worst part of the wound. "We have to stop the bleeding," she said, tears forming but voice steady. Sophie backed up and surveyed the forest. "We need to mark where he is, in case we run for help and someone comes looking." "I'm not leaving him alone," Lila said. "I'll go. You stay and try to keep him awake." "No," Lila shook her head. "We're not splitting up." The twins had always done everything together. This wouldn't be different. Sophie opened her small hiking backpack and dug out a granola bar and a roll of bandages they'd packed just in case. She wrapped part of it around the wound while Lila gently cradled the officer's head on her lap. "I'm Officer Jensen. They shot me. I was chasing someone." "Don't talk. Just stay awake," Lila said. "Rusty," Sophie whispered, kneeling beside their dog. "You need to go. Get help." She pointed toward the direction of the ranger post. "Go, Rusty, go." The golden retriever tilted his head, then sprinted off with astonishing speed, disappearing into the trees. The girls sat in silence as Jensen's breathing grew weaker. Minutes passed, maybe 10, maybe 30. They had no idea how long they'd been there when they heard it. Distant shouting, cracking twigs, boots against leaves. A group of officers burst into the clearing, led by a panting, mud-covered Rusty. Lila burst into tears as two of the men ran toward her, her legs buckled in relief. The lead officer froze when he saw Jensen. "Oh my God, it's him." Another officer dropped to his knees, checking Jensen's pulse. "He's alive. He's barely alive, but these girls saved him." "Who are you two?" one of the officers asked, eyes wide. "We're the Harper twins," Lila sniffled. We
Did what we could. Rusty barked once, tail wagging now that the job was done. None of them knew yet just how important Officer Jensen was, or what truth his survival would soon reveal.
The forest was unnervingly quiet now. A slow wind rustled the leaves above as the girls crouched beside Officer Daniels, his blood pooling into the dirt. Emily, the more observant twin, kept pressure on his side, while her sister Lily scanned the area, alert, tense, like she was listening for something no one else could hear. Suddenly, Daniels gripped Emily's wrist with surprising strength. His lips trembled as he forced out words through clenched teeth. "Not accident. Someone did this. Not random." His eyes flicked toward the tree line, wild with fear. "Badge. Not safe." Emily's hands froze. "What do you mean? Who did this to you?" Daniel's face twisted in pain, but he managed one more sentence. "There's a dirty cop. Someone in uniform. Don't trust him. He was waiting for me." Then he passed out. Emily and Lily exchanged a glance. They were only 10, but something in those words settled into them like ice water. This wasn't a car crash. This wasn't a hunting accident. This was something dark, and someone had tried to kill a cop, then left him to die in silence. From the backpack, Lily pulled out a small notepad and scribbled everything Daniels had just said, in case he forgets, or worse. Then she whispered, "We can't call just anyone. If it's someone in the police." They didn't know who to trust, not even 911. That's when their dog Tucker growled, low, warning. His body stiffened and his ears shot up toward the direction of the fire trail, where a crunch of leaves echoed faintly. They dropped to the ground, dragging a branch over Daniel's body to conceal him as best they could. Emily peered between bushes. A silhouette appeared, tall, holding something metallic. A voice followed, "Daniels, you down here?" But something felt off. He wasn't calling out like someone panicked. His voice was too calm, too controlled. Then they saw it, the reflection of a police badge clipped to the man's belt. But it wasn't their local sheriff department's badge. It was different. Emily's heart thudded. Lily whispered, "He's not from our town." The man got closer, now scanning the woods methodically. He wasn't trying to help. He was searching. Emily tapped Lily's arm. "We have to move. Quiet." While Tucker stayed hidden beside Daniels, the girls crept low across the brush, making their way toward the nearby ranger cabin, abandoned but with a shortwave radio they'd seen last summer. If it still worked. Inside the cabin, Lily yanked open the dusty cabinet, revealing the radio. She fiddled with knobs, her small fingers trembling. Emily stood at the broken window, holding a rusted fire axe in her hand, just in case. Then, static turned to a voice. "Dispatch, this is Ranger Unit 9. Do you copy?" Lily nearly cried in relief. They gave a coded message, carefully describing their location and that an officer was injured, but never mentioned a name. They didn't know who was listening. 10 minutes later, the fake officer reached the cabin, but it was too late. Tucker had barked wildly just before his approach, and the girls had lit a flare they found near the ranger tower, catching the attention of an incoming rescue helicopter. When real officers stormed in, led by Chief Harrison, who was trustworthy, the man with the wrong badge fled into the trees. He was caught 2 days later, and when questioned, the truth dropped like a bombshell. He was a disgraced ex-cop turned rogue, connected to an internal cover-up Officer Daniels was about to expose. He'd ambushed Daniels in the woods to silence him. But the girls had not only saved a man's life, they'd exposed a traitor hiding inside the force.
What they didn't realize yet was that Daniels wasn't just a random officer. He was someone their family had crossed paths with before, and his secret connection to the twins was about to turn their entire world upside down.
The hospital was under high alert. Officer Daniels had been moved to a secure room, flanked by guards. His injuries were serious, but he was stable, thanks to the twins' quick thinking. Chief Harrison reviewed the interrogation files of the rogue ex-cop, Michael Rourke. He was once a decorated detective, but had been quietly dismissed years ago for tampering with evidence. But the records were vague, sanitized. Someone higher up had protected him. That night, as Lily and Emily sat beside their father in the waiting room, Daniels asked to speak to them, alone. With pale lips and a rasping voice, he looked at them with something between awe and guilt. "I didn't just recognize your faces out there," he said slowly. "I recognized your eyes. You're her daughters, aren't you?" The twins looked at each other. "Whose daughters?" Daniel's eyes welled up. "Caroline Hayes, your mother." Emily stiffened. "How do you know our mom?" Daniels looked away. "Because I failed her." What came next shattered every assumption the girls had. 17 years ago, Caroline Hayes had been a young whistleblower, an intern in the police department's records division. She'd uncovered corruption, missing drugs from evidence rooms, internal affairs files tampered with, even wrongful arrests. Daniels had been a young officer then, still full of idealism. Caroline had gone to him for help. "She trusted me. I told her we'd do the right thing." But the deeper they dug, the more dangerous things became. Higher-ups began watching them. One night, Caroline vanished for 3 days. When she came back, she was pregnant and terrified. "I told her to run, disappear." She refused. She tried to report it anyway. And then, the threats started. She left the department and changed her name. I thought she was gone for good. I tried to protect her, but I wasn't strong enough. Daniel sighed. "I never knew what happened to her, until the moment I saw your eyes in that forest. Caroline's eyes." Lily was speechless. Emily's jaw trembled. "So you think our mom was silenced?" Lily whispered. Daniels didn't speak, but the silence was answer enough. "She died 2 years ago," Emily said quietly. "Breast cancer." Daniel's face crumbled. "I should have looked for her. I should have done more." Then he pulled out something wrapped in plastic, a water-damaged photo from his jacket. It was of Caroline, younger, smiling, standing beside Daniels in uniform. On the back were initials, CH plus JD. "She left a letter." Emily dug through her backpack. They unfolded their mother's last note. It was short, handwritten, and addressed to Judge Holden. Daniel stiffened. Judge Holden? He was part of this. He covered up Rourke's crimes. He sealed records, buried testimonies. Caroline feared him more than anyone. The girls looked at each other. That's who Mom had asked them to find. Why? Within hours, Chief Harrison assembled a task force. With Daniel's sworn testimony, the rogue officer's confession, and Caroline's note, they had enough to open a sealed investigation. They arranged a court summons for Judge Holden. When the hearing began, the courtroom was packed. Officers, lawyers, and reporters lined the benches. But the most silent presence of all were the 2 girls, seated in the front row, their dog resting at their feet. Judge Holden walked in, composed and cold. But when he saw the girls, he froze. He recognized them. The letter was presented.
A hush fell as the judge opened it and read the last words Caroline Hayes ever wrote. "If you're reading this, then my daughters found you, and that means I'm gone. But they deserve the truth you and others buried for years. You stole my safety, but you won't steal their future." The judge dropped the letter. His hands trembled. Then he whispered, I never thought she would." The courtroom erupted. Officers swarmed forward. Holden was detained on the spot. Caroline's daughters had done what she never could. With courage, they had unmasked a system their mother died trying to expose. But the story wasn't over yet, because what no one knew, not even Daniels, was that Caroline had left behind something else, something hidden, something dangerous, something only the twins could find.
2 days after the courtroom chaos, the news had gone national. Corrupt judge exposed by twin sisters after officer's near-fatal ambush. Ghost of whistleblower mother brings down powerful players after 17 years. The headlines couldn't capture the weight of it all. Emily and Lily returned home not as anonymous kids, but as symbols. Symbols of courage, of legacy, of justice. Their dog Toby became an icon himself, featured in countless articles. The brave pup who led police to their own. Yet, in their modest living room, surrounded by stacks of unopened letters and media requests, the girls sat in silence. The world knew the public story, but only they knew what remained unfinished. Because their mother's final letter hadn't been the only thing she left behind. After the trial, a woman approached them in the hallway. Late 40s, librarian glasses, nervous. "You don't know me, but I knew your mother, Caroline." Her name was Miriam, a former coworker of Caroline's in the records division. Before the name change, before the vanishing. She handed them a small brown envelope sealed with wax. "She gave this to me over a decade ago. Told me to hold on to it, to only give it to her daughters, if anything ever happened to her." The girls opened it once they were alone. Inside were 2 items, a simple hand-drawn map and a flash drive. They plugged it into their laptop. What opened was a digital archive, one their mother had carefully compiled. Files, videos, internal emails, scanned documents, things she'd copied before vanishing. It was a smoking gun, evidence of embezzlement, case fixing, even a murder cover-up involving not just Judge Holden, but 4 high-ranking officers, one of whom was now Chief Harrison's own mentor. The twins stared at the screen. It was explosive, dangerous, and yet empowering. "Mom was never trying to be a hero," Lily whispered. "She was trying to protect us." "But she still kept fighting," Emily replied, "even when she was alone." They debated whether to hand over the drive to the authorities, but then they remembered what Daniels said. Sometimes the system eats the truth. So they chose something different. They uploaded the files anonymously to a secure whistleblower platform, then sent copies to trusted journalists. Within hours, the press exploded with the new revelations. Arrests followed. Internal affairs cracked wide open, and Caroline Hayes' name was finally restored, not as a disgraced former intern, but as a buried hero. Daniels was reinstated as an honorary captain and offered early retirement. He declined. "I made a mistake once. I won't walk away again." The twins were awarded the Civilian Medal of Bravery. The ceremony was aired nationwide, but they insisted the medal be named after their mother. And so, from that day forward, it was called the Caroline Hayes Honor of Courage. Weeks later, Emily, Lily, and Toby stood outside the courthouse again. This time, not to find justice, but to bury the past. They placed the single daisy on the marble steps. "We did it, Mom," Emily whispered. Lily added, "We're safe now, because of you." As they turned to leave,
A quiet breeze swept through the square. The courthouse flag fluttered at half-mast, and for a moment, just a moment, they could almost hear her voice. "Keep going, my girls. I'm proud of you." Moral of the story: sometimes courage skips a generation, but the truth never dies. Even when buried, even when silenced, it waits for the right hearts to carry it forward. These girls weren't just her children, they were her legacy. And they did what the system couldn't. They made it right.